Hello, Krista here. Thank you so much for stopping by Books and Jams today. I am very excited, very excited about today's video. I have asked a handful of my booktube friends to share with me a book that has helped them get out of a reading slump. Some of them also share some tips of things that work for them when they're feeling slumpy. Some of them just dive right in and talk about the book. Some have mentioned a couple different authors. I have a variety of advice and tips and book recommendations coming your way. I really hope that you enjoy this, and I hope that your slump ends soon. Enjoy.
Hey beautiful people, my name's Kristen from Enter the Book. I was asked by Krista at Books and Jam to contribute to what I do in a reading slump, and really the most important thing I do is I honor that. I figure there is maybe a legit reason that I am in a slump and I don't read for at least 2 days. I just clear whatever plans I did have and just be okay with not reading. I think sometimes we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get something read or to do a certain pace, and when you get to that place, sometimes you just need a reboot. You just need to reset, be okay with it, and let go of the ill feelings or the guilt that comes associated with being in a slump. If you're in a reading slump, you are okay. This happens. It is seasons of life. We go through loving things and disliking things all the time as we age, progress, do life. That's okay. Do it, get through it, move on, and reading will be fun again. It will. Take care, y'all. Have a blessed day.
Hey guys, my name is Amanda. I'm from the channel The Curly Reader, and today I am sharing with you one of my slump busters. So when I am facing a reading slump, as I have recently, my go-to slump buster is contemporary romance, which I typically don't read a lot about. I just don't read a lot of them. But I find that they're just easy to follow. They're light, they're fluffy, it's typically nothing super heavy, and they're quick to get through. And so one of my favorites that I think would be really good for breaking a slump is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I have read all of Beth O'Leary's books, and this one is my favorite so far. And this one follows Tiffy and Leon, who decide to share a flat, or an apartment, as we in the US say. It's set in the UK, but they decide to share a flat, and one of them has possession of it during the day and the other one has possession of it at night. They never meet. They sleep in the same bed, but never together. And so while they are sharing this flat, they decide to start communicating by leaving post-it notes for each other back and forth, and then a relationship ensues. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I thought it was fantastic. It's short chapters, fast-paced, and it does have some heavier content in it, but nothing that is overly heavy that's going to bog it down, which is what I look for when I am trying to bust a slump. So I hope that this is helpful for you. I hope that you check out The Flat Share, and thanks Krista for inviting me to do this with you. Bye!
Hello Bookish friends, I'm Berna from Berna's Bookish Adventure. When Krista graciously asked me to be a part of this collaboration video, I immediately thought of what do I do to get out of a reading slump. I first thought of a way which has worked very well for me. When I feel like a reading slump is coming and I do not enjoy or get into any of the books that I'm reading, I immediately pick up books from the genres that are easier for me to get into, because once I get into the book and the story, of course, my enthusiasm for reading reappears and I gradually get out of the reading slump. For me, the two genres that are most easy to get into are mysteries or thrillers and romance. The genres may of course differ for you, but you can try my method by identifying the genres that are easiest for you to get into, and then read those genres to get out of a reading slump.
Hey, it's Gloria Thompson, and my recommendation for you to help you get out of a reading slump is graphic novels in general, and then I have a specific recommendation. But graphic novels for me are amazing palate cleansers, and I think they are a contributing factor to why I rarely get into reading slumps, because they are quick to read and full of pictures and just are really nice ways to get you back into a momentum of reading. And I'm going to mention the graphic novel that started started it all for me, because before this one I'd never read graphic novels, and that is Anne of Green Gables by Maria Marsden. She also made an adaptation of The Secret Garden. I absolutely love this graphic novel. It is a lovely adaptation of the original classic. And what I love about graphic novels is that you could pretty much find one that already fits what you like. So if you like fantasy, there are fantasy graphic novels like Lightfall. If you love classics or are nostalgic about a certain book that you've read before, pick up the graphic adaptation of it and get back into reading. Some examples could be Anne of Green Gables or The Secret Garden, or there's graphic adaptations of books like Dune, The Handmaid's Tale, Diary of Anne Frank, To Kill a Mockingbird, Kindred, The Giver, A Wrinkle in Time, The Great Gatsby, 1984, and even some of the Jane Austens. Just to name a few, there is a graphic novel out there for you, so I recommend going, checking one out from your library, and maybe sprinkling them throughout your reading, especially after a heavy or hard book. It's really fun to pick up a graphic novel, and they're really easy to read in one sitting.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah and I am from the channel The Bookish Knitter. I am here to share with you some books that may help to get you out of a reading slump. Very quickly, before I share the books with you, my one tip that I do have if you are in a reading slump is maybe to read outside of your comfort zone. If you typically read mysteries or historical fiction, maybe try your hand at a historical romance or just a romance in general. As a romance reader and lover, I obviously am going to be recommending some romance to you guys. These are actually two series that I want to share with you. One is definitely a sweeter romance. The other one definitely on the spicy end of the spectrum. So the first series I want to share with you is the Moose Springs series. The first book is called The Tourist Attraction, and this is definitely a sweeter contemporary romance series. The entire series is set in Moose Springs, Alaska. It is about a small group of friends. There are 3 books in total in this series. It is absolutely delightful. All of the adult content happens behind closed doors. Highly recommend this one. There are some great funny moments in it. And yeah, this one is one that will not steer you wrong. For the spicier end of the spectrum, for my friends who might like a little heat with their romance, the Winston Brothers series by Penny Reid. This is, I think, the 5th book, but the first book, is called Truth and Beard. And this is a series about 5 brothers. It takes place in Kentucky. It is brilliant. It is funny. It is spicy. And it is fantastic on audio if you get a chance to listen to it on audio. So, yeah, there are my recommendations, you guys. If you are looking for any more romance recommendations, hit me up and I'm happy to help out. Take care, everyone, and thanks for watching. Bye.
So for me, a reading slump is basically my worst nightmare happening. But I feel like after getting into a few reading slumps last year, I figured out my strategy for either staying out of one or getting out of one if it's already too late. So I sort of have this 2-pronged strategy. I will either go for an author that I know and love and pick up one of their backlist books that I haven't read yet, or revisit a favorite of theirs, which to me is sort of like the comfort zone of a familiar TV show or a movie or a warm hug or like a good bowl of ice cream or something that I can go back to that I know is going to work out for me, or I will pick up a thriller. So last year I read Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews, and this book 1000% saved me from / got me out of a reading slump in November. So this is one of those books I will say falls victim to too much being revealed in the cover jacket. So I am only going to read you a portion of it, and my advice to you is to go into this as blind as possible. So it says, all she ever wanted was a different life. So we follow a woman named Florence. She is a low-level publishing employee. She believes she is destined to be a writer, and she just wants more than that low-level publishing job of hers. And she winds up getting a job to be the assistant to Maud Dixon, which is a pen name for a best-selling author. So Florence takes the job, goes to work with Maud. She thinks her life is forever changed for the better, and suffice to say, her life is forever changed. So you go on the journey with the two of them, and again, it's just so well done. If you guys are not familiar with me, I'm a huge dog-earer. This book is dog-eared all to the high heavens. I read it in a matter of days, and I just absolutely loved it. So if you're looking to get out of a slump and you need a book recommendation, I would recommend Who is Maud Dixon.
Hey everyone, my name is Sarah. My channel is called Sarah's Nightstand, and I just recently prevented myself from getting into a slump. I was reading a really big, long book that was dragging for me, And I really could feel myself starting to feel like I just didn't want to read, and I felt like I was going to start entering into a slump. And so I picked up a different book to really keep me engaged and just to keep me going with reading, and it 100% worked. And that book is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Colleen Hoover normally writes romance, adult, kind of hard-hitting contemporary romance books. This one is a little bit different for her, and this one is more of a mystery with a little bit of thriller aspects in here as well. So we are following a woman who is an author, and she has really kind of hit a slump in her life, actually, with her writing, and she's not feeling very creative, and she's just kind of having a hard time with that. And she ends up getting this opportunity to become a ghostwriter for a woman who has a best-selling series, but she's no longer able to write them due to a medical condition. And in order to be able to do this, she ends up traveling to the author's house and spends some time with her family, gets to go through her notes and all these things in her office that have to do with her series so that she can get a feel for where the series is going, where she needs to take the story, and, you know, try to stay true to the original author's work as much as possible. Upon doing this, she finds out all sorts of things about this author and this family and what's going on, and there's some things that are not quite adding up, and she really gets thrown into the mix and all the drama of what is happening with this family and with this author in particular. This book just completely had me guessing the entire time. I felt like I just had to compulsively keep picking it up so that I could know what was going on, and I wanted to know what was going to happen. I wanted to know where this was going. I had to know all the things. So I read this in 2 days. It was so quick. It was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. Again, it kept me guessing till the end, and it just ended up being a complete 5-star read for me. So if you find yourself getting into a slump, pick up this book. It will not disappoint you.
Hi, my name is Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly, and when I find myself in a bit of a reading slump, I find the way I get out of it is to pick up some middle grade fantasy books. And the reason for that is that they're often fast-paced. They can be like shorter than adult fantasy books. And also when you pick up a middle grade fantasy book, you are brought into a whole world of possible adventures and magic and mythical creatures, and I always find them to be a lot of fun. I also really enjoy when middle grade fantasy is revolving around real stories from folklore or mythology. And so the book I want to recommend today is Aro Shah and the End of Time by Roshni Chakshi. And this is a 5-book middle grade fantasy series that revolves around Hindu mythology. And in this first book, we are following Aro, who is a girl who lives in a museum for Indian artifacts. Her mother is an archaeologist, and she has a bit of a tendency to tell white lies to the people in her class to try to fit in, and her classmates know that she's lying to them just to impress them. And so one day she gets in trouble when she tells everybody that there is an artifact at the museum that has a curse on it, and all of the kids then dare her to prove that there's a curse. Well, it turns out that she ends up releasing a demon and has to deal with those consequences. And so we're led into this whole book series full of adventures and quests, and there's new characters introduced along the way, lots of mythical creatures and beasts, and also deities, and it is so much fun. I really enjoyed how the characters in this had their own personalities, and you really felt like you were going along with them and rooting for them through the entire time of their going through these adventures. I thought that the villains were also very complex, and I really enjoyed the bits of storytelling, especially mythology stories that were placed throughout the series. And so I would highly recommend this if you're looking for something fast-paced and fun and adventurous that could get you out of a slump.
Hello, I'm Denise LaRosa from La Rosa Reads, and I'm here to share with you the book that got me out of my reading slump, and it is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This was a book that was selected by A. Marie's Book Club. Shout out to A. Marie's Book Club. And it really was entertaining. I didn't really have any expectations going into it, but what I found about the book that was enjoyable was, first of all, it was short and sweet, so that helped me to move along quickly and get out of that slump. It also did have a far-fetched concept, yet it was entertaining, so you just found yourself immersed into the world that was this book with the main characters Lillian and Madison, who were college roommates, actually high school roommates. And long story short, Madison marries this very wealthy politician. Lillian is just struggling in life and ends up being the nanny to Madison's stepchildren. And they have the ability to combust. It's very interesting, which intrigued me, which helped me get out of the reading slump. So thank you, Krista, for inviting me to participate. And I highly recommend Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson.
Hey everyone, my name is Chloe and my channel name is Always Booked, and today I'm here to tell you about what helps me get out of a slump. So if I read a couple books back to back that just aren't good, it's really easy for me to get in a slump. So my first recommendation would be just switch up the format. If you're reading physically, try audio. If you're doing audio, try ebook, etc. But that doesn't always work for me. One thing that does always work for me is reading a book with short chapters. So if I can sit down and fly through a book physically, especially, I just get so motivated and I just nailed that. I am a good reader. I can read a lot. I like books, and it totally gets me back in the mood. So today I'm here to tell you about 3 authors who do short chapters. So the first one is James Patterson. He writes mystery thrillers. He has a backlog that is so long. I will never read all of his books. He's got 1,000, and I'm probably not exaggerating. But his books all have less than 5-page chapters. And so this one is 400 some odd pages, but it's 125 chapters. And so if I could fly through this, I would just feel so good, which I totally could, because it's one more chapter. And that is a less than 5-minute commitment that I can squeeze in before I have to go do whatever I have to go do, or before I get too tired to read anymore or whatever. So James Patterson is great if you're wanting an OG mystery thriller. Next is Ruta Sepetys. So she writes historical fiction kind of with a twist. She writes about things that aren't the typical story. She writes about places that you may not know about or events you may not know about. And she also does really short chapters. And so I'll open this midway. Right here is chapter 51. And you're halfway through the book. So again, this one makes me feel so accomplished, and I can always pick up a Ruta if I need to just bust a slump. The last one is Lisa Jewell. She is a mystery thriller author as well, and she does these short chapters that just keep you going. And so that is my tip for busting out of a slump. Krista, thank you so much for including me in this video. If you're not already over there, we'll see you on Always Booked, and thank you so much for watching.
Hi, I'm Nikki, and my channel is Red Dot Reads. So, reading slumps. If I feel a reading slump is coming on, I binge watch my favourite booktubers, especially the ones who have really similar reading tastes to myself. I find that they exude enthusiasm, and I absorb that enthusiasm, and then I find myself wanting to reach for the next book. Now, as regards genre, for me, my go-to is mystery or crime. So my top tip would be to always go to a favourite series that you really enjoy and that you know the characters and the setting. I love that familiarity. So for me, in recent years, that has been the mystery series Inspector Gamache by Louise Penny. And I've got one of them here, Dead Cold. I love this series because I feel like now I know the whole cast of characters. I'm really familiar with them. I know how they're going to react. I know how they're going to interact with each other. And I love the setting. It's set in Quebec, in Montreal. The village is called Three Pines. And in my head, I can completely picture it. So I have the characters and I have the setting. They're all so familiar as I pick up the next book. And to be honest, the actual crime then becomes quite secondary to the whole experience. It's more about being in that world again. So I hope that helps. I hope your reading slump does not last too long. Happy reading.
Hi, my name is Tiffany and my channel name is Beautiful Minutia. So when I am in the middle of a reading slump, it's usually because I am reading something that I'm really not in the mood for, or something that is particularly challenging to me. So I like to stop whatever I'm reading and pick up something that is more of a comfort read and something that just makes me happy. So I'm going to recommend to you my all-time favorite comfort read, and it's actually a series, but I'm just going to talk about the first book today, and that's All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. I'm sure many of you are familiar with James Herriot's work, especially since there have been TV show adaptations of the series. But James Herriot was a country vet in England, and the first book picks up shortly before World War II. James Herriot moves from Scotland to England to become a country vet, and there's a lot of descriptions of animals and veterinary practice, which are really interesting to me. I've always loved animals and always loved science, so I do enjoy those parts. But there's also just a lot of beautiful, beautiful pastoral descriptions of the English countryside that really makes me want to visit there. And also just a lot of reflections on small town life and the people that inhabit this small town. There's a lot of humor and a lot of heart in these books. So I highly recommend these to you, especially if you are an animal lover, but they just bring a lot of joy to me. So I hope they bring joy to you too and maybe help you bust out of a slump.
Thank you so much for watching. It has been a pleasure to share these voices with you and share these recommendations for you. I would love to chat with you down in the comments. Did you add any of these books to your TBR? Have any of these specific books or types of books helped you get out of a slump? Let's chat down in the comments. I always love talking with you down there. And that is going to be it for today. I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.